Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot today. I am sorts of excited to talk to you boys and girls about Jets-Eagles game day, baby. Going to be a tough one. Eagles undefeated. The New York Jets without 3 of their top 4 cornerbacks. Going to be a struggle if you're the New York Jets. If you guys are just hopping in, make sure you hit that like button if you're concerned. Like I am heading into this game. Look, my mindset going into this game is I was expecting a loss even with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. So I'm just sitting here hoping to see some positives. Now, obviously, I want to have a win, and I'm going to give you some ideas of ways I think the Jets could be able to do that. But it's a lot of hoping and wishing, I think. Unless the Jets can prove us wrong. I'd like to see that. This is our final game of our 6-game grueling stretch to start the season. The Jets have the number 1 hardest schedule in the NFL through week 6. Then we have our bye week. From the bye week on, the Jets have I think it was the 17th hardest schedule. So the way out looks a little bit better. So this could be the option of going 2-4 into the bye, or maybe you break even and you go 3-3. This is certainly not the game that I think a lot of us were expecting to get to 3-3 on. This is a very tough Eagles team. They're tush push, what do they call it? The brotherly shove. Can the Jets stop it? I think the Jets have the D-line to be able to stop it. But can you stop the rest of this Eagles prolific offensive attack without Sauce Gardner, who's knocked out with a concussion? DJ Reed misses his 2nd straight game with a concussion. Brandon Echols out as well. So really our only starting corner out there is going to be Michael Carter II. You're going to have Bryce Hall out there. And what we call up Craig James? Or are we moving even Hardy's out. Hardy doesn't play defense. Special teams ace. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks. He's got stuff going on. So the Jets are in a world of hurt from a special teams and defensive standpoint. Now, given our guys that extra week of rest going into the bye week 2, you want these guys ready to go for after the bye and beyond. And I'm not saying that you just throw out a game, but if it's one, I don't know does anyone know what the spread is? It's got to be close to 10, I would think. 8.5, somewhere around there. Not ideal. Not ideal if you're the New York Jets. So defensively in the secondary, we're hamstrung. So how do the Jets handle the offensive side of the ball? You're going to have to score points. Philadelphia can score points. I would venture to bet this game plan is going to look a lot similar to what the Chiefs game plan looked like, where Zach was throwing the ball close to 50 times. Now, obviously, you want to see if you can establish the run early. Maybe you start throwing on first down, work some play action, things that you haven't really been doing, but Zach has done really well in the times he has run play action. That's what I would like to see. Keep this Eagles defense guessing, but you're going to have to put up points because your defense, that bend but don't break style, it may work to an extent, but if your corners can't cover the way you expect starting NFL corners to work, you're going to have a hard time. Now, let's be honest. Bryce Hall doesn't give anyone the warm and fuzzies as far as being a starting caliber cornerback. But at one time, Jet fans felt this guy could be at least our corner number 2. Before we acquired DJ Reed, or even after we acquired DJ Reed, but before we drafted Sauce Gardner, people were kind of okay with Bryce Hall. Now you look at Devonta Smith, you look at Goddard, you look at A.J. Brown. It's a lethal team. Going to be very tough. And Jalen Hurts provides a very tough style of quarterback to go up against. Jets have tough time covering mobile quarterbacks. You saw that with Dak Prescott. You saw that for the first half of the Broncos game against Russell Wilson, when Russell Wilson was able to kind of make some things happen with his feet. So now you run into this tough situation is, do you spy Jalen Hurts and prevent him from running? Or do you play contain? Maybe don't take the sacks. Don't get the sacks that you otherwise would have been able to get maybe. And you play contain, kind of like how you did against Lamar last year at the beginning of the season. Contain, keep your secondary and your linebackers in coverage because you're already out your cornerbacks. So I feel like if you pull some guy in to spy on the quarterback, now you're even shorter on the coverage side of things if you're the New York Jets. It's not really ideal when you're trying to consider what the Jets could or could not be good at the beginning part of this game. Boys and girls, if you're just hopping in here, please make sure you hit that like button. If you want to support the channel, or if you like independent content creation for your New York Jets, obviously, you can hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a nickel. Doesn't cost you anything at all. If you do want to go that little extra bit further and you'd like to support the channel, the best way to do so is to support the sponsors of the channel. And like you guys know, Underdog has been kind enough to sponsor the channel for the season. And if you use code JetsTalk247, no, sorry, that's wrong. Jets247. Know your own promo code, Ryan. Jets247. They'll match up to $500 on your first deposit. It was $100. They've changed it. They're like, hey, $500. Ryan, go start pushing $500. Okay, I like it. I've been having a lot of fun with it. And I'll tell you guys the easiest pick. We'll do some pick 'em at some point, maybe in 15, 20 minutes or so. But the easiest pick 'em. I've gotten it right every single week. It's a fail-safe when you're going up against the Jets defense, which I'll be honest, with a little bit of struggle in the injury department, maybe it's not as safe as I think it is. But I'll get into that in a little bit. I want to pull up some of your comments and everything. Talk a little bit. Flight Right comes in, says, Ryan in the clutch, looking for something to listen to. Then your notification popped up. Let's effing go Jets. Flight Right. Thank you. Got my mom visiting. She's up from Florida. This was the cockpit last night was the de facto baby room. I had a pack and play over there, changing stuff in here. So didn't do any shows from the cockpit the last 2 days. That's all right. Radimus Prime comes in and says, Zack is so bad at home, in quotes, because there was someone earlier that mentioned that, yet he beat the Bills in the home opener and had the game of his career so far against the reigning Super Bowl champs and literally outplayed Mahomes as the only quarterback to ever do it. Yeah, I would say T. Dua Money is a little wrong. A little wrong. I think that was the one that put that comment in there. So, Radimus, I'm with you. Flight Right dropping a let's effing go Jets. I'm excited. Let's go, says Cyrus. Radimus saying, Ryan with the throwback. Damn right. Breece Hall better get fed today. As much as I want to see Zack sling the rock all over the place, I definitely want to see Breece Hall get his touches. The dude needs to get at least, I would say, 20 touches between the ground and the receiving game. Give him enough opportunities to start breaking some long runs. Scott V says, just feed Breece. Ooh. We've got a new shirt. There's a new shirt for Talkin' Jets. If you guys head over to Talkin' Jets, TALKIN, Jets.com, we got a new Feed Breece shirt. So, little plug there. Jacob says, slow starts with multiple 3-and-outs. This game will be over by halftime. Jacob! Why? Why the pessimism so early in the day? It's not even noon, Eastern Standard Time. Just because we haven't beaten the Eagles ever, and we're without our best defensive players, or a chunk of them, doesn't mean that the Super Bowl team from last year that scores a lot of points is going to score a lot of points on us. Don't be such a negative Nancy. Jimmy says, always hope, then disappointment. Yeah, look, don't go into it expecting good things to happen today based on everything that's kind of going on around the injury front. But you go into it with low expectations. So you come out like, oh, wow, maybe Zack looked good. Maybe Breece looked electric. Maybe there were some things you could take away from this game, even if it's not a victory. Because let's be real, this is probably a little bit of a long shot. And then if you get the victory, oh, you're cruising. You're feeling real good heading into the bye week. The nice thing about this game, with all the injuries, there's that built-in excuse from a team perspective, like, hey, look, we were not our 100%. But hey, look what we did against the Eagles. Look what we're able to do. Now imagine if we had all our players out there on the field. Now the Eagles are going to be without Jalen Carter. He's not playing in this game. So maybe there's an opportunity for Breece to find a little bit more room up front. But I believe Zack is going to have to score some points and be able to throw the ball over the field in order for the Jets to keep pace with the Eagles. So William says the spread is only 7. Christopher says 9. So we'll split the difference. We'll say it's an 8-point spread. Either way, not ideal. Jed for president said, the one game I got to this season, no Rodgers or secondary. Oh, dude. He's going to Jets Eagles. Yeah, dude. I mean, there's a lot of people that spent a lot of money on tickets, especially like some of the away games. Like I know a good amount of people going to the Vegas game, and they're all sorts of hyped to see Rodgers leading into the season, and now they're spending a ton of money to just not see Rodgers. I mean, heck, we were all amped up night one. Would you rather be there night one and watch the injury happen, or kind of have come to grips with it and then I have already had a ticket and you're going to see another game? I don't know. That home opener was electric to start. But man, the air got sucked out real fast. Williams said, it was 7 last night. I laid money on the Eagles. Ugh. Ashton Davis over Amos says, J.E., every time Ashton Davis is on the field, it feels like he's making plays. Feels like he's making plays. Jim Pox says, Eagles may be anticipating play action. Careful. They also might be anticipating a dude that ran for 177 yards on the Broncos to get the ball as well. So it works both ways. Ooh, this is a good question. Jimmy says, after today, where will Zack stand? So he would have to have a truly abysmal game to justify, not justify, but like I think for this team to move off of him and move on to Simeon. I do think if that does happen, you'll see maybe a very short leash coming out of the bye. Like they might give Zack the opportunity to get right versus the Giants, and then if that doesn't work, then maybe Simeon starts coming in. This season is still not lost. Even without Aaron Rodgers right now, the schedule gets significantly easier the rest of the way out, and we'll have a better idea, at least, of where we stand with Zack after this game. GTA 4 man says, Eagles fan trying to claim this game is fair because they have injuries. Nah, bro. You didn't lose your Hall of Fame starting quarterback. You didn't lose your best offensive lineman. Didn't lose your 2 best corners. Can't compare. Completely agree. Just because you lose your rookie defensive tackle that you had gifted to you fall in the draft doesn't mean you got injury struggles from the Eagles. 100%. Jets are in far worse shape. You're talking money-wise, it's got to be $50 million sitting on the IR. Or maybe not the IR, but sitting on the inactive list for today. Rodgers, $35 million. Sauce, probably $8 million. DJ Reed, probably sitting somewhere around the same. Lots of money sitting out there. Hi Kung Fu says, Jets are going to shock people today. Players who are backups are hungry and will play harder given the chance they get. Yeah, they just got to be better than a Super Bowl caliber team. That's the piece of this whole puzzle. If Zack can throw the ball all over the yard and he's able to get... we're going to need a 300-yard game from Zack today. I really believe that in order to try and beat Philly. It's going to be a tall task. Jim Pox says, spy with McDonald all set physically to do that to Hurts. That would be interesting. Let's say you rush 3 consistently and you just play contain. You're not trying to get sacks all game. Containing with 3 is really hard. You really got to contain with 4. But let's say, for argument's sake, you rush with 3 and you have McDonald spy Hurts. That might be the best case scenario because he's really fast. Interesting. Jimmy says the only luck we have is bad luck. Tell me about it. It's like the luck of the Irish. They never said it's good luck of the Irish. I've had bad luck plenty of times. GVH says their offense is so multiple. I feel like our defense will be gassed early. Maybe say their offense is so mobile. I feel like our defense will be gassed early. Got to get out of this injury free. Yeah, if you can just get out of this game, even if it's a loss, as long as you're healthy heading into the tail end of the season, you're probably feeling okay. I don't think there's any Jet fans that have penciled this game in for a win, even with Aaron Rodgers. You say maybe this is the year we catch him. But by and large, this is a very tough team. Even with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, this is a very tough offensive juggernaut to go against with this defense. It puts a lot of stress on defenses with the way Hurts can move the ball. Oh, that's right. Darius Slay is not playing today. Makes me feel a little bit better. Darius Slay can kick rocks. It's only an issue if the quarterback can get the ball to where Darius Slay is, right? Otherwise, you're not missing much. Alfonso says, this game could remind me of the Ravens versus Jets 2019. I hope not. I don't remember that game off the top of my head. But based on that reaction, I'm assuming it was not very good. Wyatt says, I think our defense can still hold it together. Our D-line is good enough. Honestly, I have a good feeling about this game. The Eagles haven't played a real team yet. Yeah, the Eagles don't have a lot of really impressive wins just yet, but the Jets currently are not a team that I would deem as, like, threatening with the injury situation we currently have right now. I think the loss of AVT, the loss of Gardner, the loss of Eccles and Reed and Rodgers, it starts compounding, and it's going to be very tough to keep pace with a team that would have been tough to keep pace with even with all our healthy starters. Oreo says, I'm sorry, Ryan, but with Sauce out, A.J. Brown is about to have 200 yards receiving. The game was already hard with Sauce. Now it's pretty impossible without Sauce. Eagles 34-10. This could get ugly. It could definitely get ugly. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat this for you guys. This is going to be a tough game. It's going to be really tough. I'm not saying it's a guaranteed loss. I'm saying it's going to be a far-fetched win. We'll say that. Radimus says, people are based because Oreo's 100% right, says Jacob. They're going to stack the box against Brees. You got to make them pay. This is at some point, if you're a quarterback in the NFL, you got to play big boy quarterback. Sack, you got to sack up today. That's what's got to happen. Matt Curtis, what's good, dude? He says, what positive hope do we have today? I mean, positive hope is you have low expectations, right? You're not going into this game disappointed if you lose, really. I mean, maybe you're disappointed with every loss, but you're going into this game with the expectation of losing, I think. So any positives you get out of this, you're going to be feeling like, all right. So let's say the Jets don't get blown out. You're all right, hey, we hung with the Super Bowl caliber team with no one. We've got no one on the field. All our best players are hurt. We'll see. Fierce Grim says, I hear the Eagles struggle against motion plays, so we need more of those. Yeah, anything you can do to keep them off balance could only help you. Isaac! What's good, dude? Celebrating 32 months of membership. I think YouTube just allowed me to get new icons for longer durations, because when I originally built this, YouTube had not been streaming stuff, so I'll see if I can get some more icons made up for you guys. He says, Sup, Ryan. Just bought my ticket to the Talkin' Jets group Monday Night Football game. Just wondering what time the pregame field access is going to be at. We'll be flying in from Chicago that day, JETS, any given Sunday. Oh, Isaac, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like to join Isaac, Matt, Greenbean, myself at the Jets-Chargers Monday night game, talkinjets.com. You guys can get a ticket over there. There are still a few tickets left. We're definitely running low, though. So if you're interested in it, by all means, come on out. It's going to be a good time. As far as pregame field access, so the Jets are going to let me know. We actually got, it was supposed to be postgame field access originally, and then the Jets called me and they're like, we're really sorry. You can't go on the field after, but we can get you guys on the field before. But we're going to get split up into like two groups for the pregame. There's going to be one with workouts prior, and there's going to be one with, I don't know, I don't think it's intros, but it's some sort of pregame field before access. So we're going to get on the field. It's just not going to be the group photo we were hoping for at the end of the game, because it's like, it's going to be ending at midnight. No one wants to stay around that long. I get you. So I'll let you guys know once the Jets let me know what time we're going in. They'll have like a registration thing as far as the different activities. So once I know that, I'll email the whole list. So just make sure you have your email up, which I would think I would know this prior to like getting to the game or whatever. But definitely prior to the game. So we'll cut the tailgate a little bit shorter for those that are going a little bit earlier. Obviously, if you don't want to go in, tailgate's still going on. So you'll have all that. But we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Gangrene Goliath says, Zack Wilson will bear the burden of angry fans. Even though key pieces missing from today's game, defense has started off ass all year in the first quarter and second quarter. Well, that's why I do the every throw, right? So I'll still do my every throw video for Zack Wilson, and then we'll be able to see, did he play well under the circumstances? Now, if the Jets get down big because of defensive flub-ups, like let's say Zach's driving down the field and a ball gets tipped or like a receiver goes off his hands, it's intercepted, goes the other way, or something like that where it gets out of hand and now Zach has to start playing hero ball. That's when I start taking a little less seriousness for some of the stats. But if Zach keeps us neck and neck with the Eagles all game, and then, that you could feel good about it. I'm hoping he doesn't get the brunt of this because of how the defense is beaten up, but he has to have a good game. I want to see him I want to see him have a caliber game like the Chiefs game. That would make me feel good, even in a loss. Jim Pox says, biggest threat to the Jets is Hurts scrambling today. Zach could scramble too. I do want to see that. I want to see some movement with Zach's legs. Jacob, come on. He says, Jets win today is from Hurts having diarrhea from the coffee from the hotel this morning. But there's someone working in the hotel where the Eagles are staying. Heard a little bit of butter in the coffee. Makes everything real smooth. Mitt Flair says, woo! It's hard for us Jet fans. It always is. It always is. GVH says, Ryan, between preseason right tackle and last year's option like Max Mitchell, who do you want to see play, or just a lot of tight end help on the right? So I do want to see Mitchell on the right-hand side. I think that's definitely what we're getting. I have not actually looked to see if there's anything goofy that they're doing, but I would assume Mitchell's going to be on the right-hand side, and I would like to see Ruckert or some sort of tight end in line with him to give him some help. There's no shame with having 6 offensive linemen on the field, with one being a tight end that can catch. I think we should. I think we should definitely do that. Help your young quarterback out. Help your young offensive lineman out, too. Jacob says, Vikings losing to the Bears, Cousins will be changing his mind. If the Vikings lose to the Bears, maybe there's some sort of difference, but I haven't really gotten the vibe that that the Jets are in play for Cousins, and based on the report that we heard, yesterday or this morning, Kirk is not going to waive his no-trade clause. I think he sees them trying to replace him, and he's going to try and spite the Vikings, just like he spited the Redskins by saying, I'll take the franchise tag, I'll take the franchise tag. I think it's going to be the same thing with the Vikings. He's going to win enough games this year that they get knocked out of position for a top quarterback, and they're either going to have to pay Kirk a premium to stay on that team beyond this year, or he's going to screw up their chances of getting a quarterback anyway. And I think that's sort of where that's headed. MC Lean says, who's playing opposite Hall today at cornerback? I don't know. Is it Craig James? I heard Craig James was getting called up. I don't know if he's actually the starter or not, or if they're moving Michael Carter out wide. We'll see when that gets released. If you guys know in the chat, definitely let me know, because I feel like I've been a little more unplugged this week with the parental visit. Ferris Grim says, I saw Carter Warren was on the list of players added to today's game. I guess they'll start working him in practice. He's just coming off the IR, so we don't know what we have in him as far as offensive line play goes. Last time we saw him was Jets-Browns Hall of Fame game, so it's been a while. Oreo says, the schedule gets easier, but don't forget this is the Jets. Last year as well, the back end of the schedule was supposed to be easy, and we lost 6 straight. LOL, I don't know if we'll be in playoff contention. So yes, 100%, the things in the NFL can change dramatically. But that being said, I think everyone can agree the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles are very, very hard teams at the beginning part of the schedule. Dallas is kind of a weird, wishy-washy team that could play really well or could get beat up by a team that you wouldn't expect them to get beat up by, like Arizona. The Patriots, Jets should have won. Patriots are a bad team. So I don't know. Going into the back half of the schedule, Miami, it's hard to imagine them looking better than they look right now. So I think at the very least, as injuries and wear and tear start to wear on people's bodies, those Miami games may look a little less daunting than they currently look right now. Like, I would not want to play Miami right this second with our defense banged up or with them playing in nice weather. When you start talking about colder weather, I think you can start thinking about maybe a little bit easier. I think I'm not saying Dolphins are going to be an easy out by any stretch, but I don't want to play the Dolphins now. And then you look at the rest of the schedule, like, I'm not really afraid of the Patriots, even though we haven't beat them. The Browns don't look super daunting without Chubb. You don't have, obviously you got Jimmy G and the Raiders. You got the Chargers. You got the Giants. I'll be honest, I like the back half of the schedule. It's different than last year. Last year, we were talking about the back half of the schedule being easier prior to the season. So I don't know. Jim Box says 190 people watching, only 43 likes. We're up to 53, but if all you guys hit the like button, if you like what you're seeing here. I don't want you to hit the like button to be disingenuous. But if you enjoy independent content creation, hit that like button. R.A. Chemist, for my birthday, Jets are going to pull the upset. I can hope. Happy birthday! J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets! Glad to have you in here, R.A. Chemist. Andrew says, we've been 28th against the run. If we're going to have any shot, it's going to have to be a lot better to stop the number 3 rushing attack. Yeah, I mean, we've been bad against the run, but a lot of it's been because of like quarterback play. Actually, I shouldn't even say quarterback play because Pachenko ran all over us. I don't know. I'm not sure why we're so bad against the run. I feel like we're getting long runs broken off on us each week, but that we're playing this bend but don't break style. So like once you get into like the 20s on either side, like you can have as many yards as you want in between the 20s. But once you get inside the 20s, you're not scoring. I don't know. Radimus says, that was based for something you said, Ryan. Whoops, I missed it then. My bad. Joe says, I think the difference today is in the trenches. Our D-line needs to show up. We also need a spy to keep on Hurts. I have hope Michael Carter 2 and Hall can keep us up for longer than some may think. I'd like to see Hall, MC2 on the outside just to see how he can play out there. David Hall Jr. says, Sauce said that he feels perfectly fine. That's the crazy part about it. Yeah, but you have to protect players from themselves. If he got a concussion last week, I don't believe there's been a player that went into the concussion protocol this year that didn't miss the following game. I think that's what they're doing. Ever since Tua got knocked out last year, I believe, they've sort of kind of kept to that. You get a concussion, you're missing the next game. So obviously Reed missing 2 games in a row, that's not great. But I think they're going to get these guys back, obviously, in 2 weeks' time coming out of the bye. Make sure they're healthy. No reason to risk one of your star players in a game that probably would have been tough without him or with him anyway. It's probably a loser's mentality to say it that way, but I think there's some risk analysis there. Jay Merwed. Hopefully we don't wait until opposing team's quarterback has 50-plus rushing yards before calling a spy. Yep. I don't want to see that. We let Russell Wilson run for like 22 yards before we're like, oh, maybe halftime we should put a spy on him. NY Sports. Wicker Media says, I have zero confidence we can keep Philly under 40 points. Not with that attitude. Come on. Oreo says, is this the game? We see the old Zach back. Call me twisted, but a small piece wants him to fail only because I know he's not the guy he isn't. I want to move on, draft another quarterback, done with Zach. I don't know. I want Zach to be the guy, or at least be some semblance of the guy, even if he's not like our long-term solution. I want him to at least be good enough that I can look forward to the rest of the season. I think that's more so where I want to be. Like I'm not expecting playoffs this year, but I want enough excitement to keep me interested the rest of the year. I don't want like to go back to the dark days of Adam Gase. Keep me away from that. Or the end of last year. Wyatt says Zach's been playing well most of the year. I'm sure that will continue. I'd like to see 70% completion percentage again. If he gets 3 straight weeks of that, that'll make me feel good. Furious Grim says Craig James and Kaymonte Hayes. Was that the guy we just recently signed? I feel like I saw that name pop through on my phone because I actually have no idea who that is. Craig James reaching deep in the pockets right now. David Hall asking, where is Bernard Converse? I think he was just activated because wasn't he on IR for like 4 weeks? I don't know how much we're going to see of him this year. I think it's going to be more of a redshirt season for him. Bums, no matter what the outcome, I hope Zach slander doesn't come back again. It won't help anything for us going forward. Yeah, I'd like to go into the bye at the very least feeling some sort of locker room camaraderie or like positive vibes moving forward. Like, I don't want this to be a things come out the seams. And now we have 2 weeks to talk about this coming out the seams because everyone's just bitching and moaning. I don't want to see that. Deep Space says, rumors are Philly wants Derrick Henry. Wow, that's nuts. So I've heard rumors, well, there were rumors of Philly trying to get Jonathan Taylor, that's wrong, Jonathan Taylor, the running back from Indianapolis prior to him signing because they were doing joint practices together. So it wouldn't shock me if Philly's trying to get a robust running back before the deadline. Joe says, get me the number 1 pick. I'm trading down 2 times, coming back with Harrison, 2 tackles, and a quarterback, and the best tight end ever. I don't want a top 5 pick. I want to win as many games as possible. I don't care about the draft pick this year because I don't know how much next year's draft pick is really going to impact the year with Aaron Rodgers. And if Rodgers is only here for 1 year, I'd rather see... I don't want to see the... I think there's more detriment if we lose a ton of games to the locker room and where like Garrett and Breece's head might be at. I'd much rather the Jets win some games, have a lower draft pick, and if you see someone you love, go up and get him. I'd rather be the team that has to go up and get a guy and have a strong locker room than start looking for losses for draft pick. I'm not in draft pick mode yet. And then G says, thumbs have been milked. Jet the F up. That's right. Hit it. Hit that like button. Hit it. Indy Jets. 7 months a member of the first class tier. Thank you, Indy Jets. Much appreciated. He says, not a Zach truther, but I need Zach to just be more consistent. I've seen growth, but need more to have any confidence in him. Yeah, I would say I don't have confidence in Zach. I'm with you there, Indy. And I would say I've seen positive things from Zach. And if you can see, have we seen consistency the last 2 weeks? Would you say the Chiefs game and the Broncos game with 70% completion percentage, was that enough of a consistency? Now, obviously, you didn't get the touchdowns from the Broncos game. You're not seeing him get the yardage like he did against the Chiefs. But the game plan kind of dictated like, yo, the running game's working. Let's lean on the running game. You don't need Zach for last week's game. This week's game, I think you're going to need Zach. So I don't know. He's definitely he doesn't look like the quarterback from the last 2 years. I'll say that. That's not confidence. There's a lot of hope there, for sure. Mom says, you had the right jersey for today. I hope Hall gives them 11 kisses on every run. I hope, yeah, right, like he hits each player on the opposing team. The Jets are going to give 11 kisses to Jalen Hurts anytime they try the tush push. Anytime they move, get Hurts outside of the pocket, let him run, let him remember what it feels like to be a running back and hit his ass as hard as you can. Make him regret wanting to take another snap. That's what I want to see. Don't want to see him hurt, but I just want to see him think twice about taking off and running. Quincy Williams, lay a lick. Just unload. If you got to take one shot, and it's one of those like DJ Reed moments where DJ Reed runs past Patrick Mahomes and you're like, oh, okay, I just don't want to get the penalty. No. If you get a situation like that today, take off Jalen Hurts' head. Clean. Don't lead with your helmet or anything, but lay him the fuck out. That's what I want to see. Illegally Beast Mode says the practice squad guys are going to play their hearts out. Oh, actually, so Illegally Beast Mode, you may like one of the new Breece drops that we have on the Talkin' Jets website, talkinjets.com. We have Breece Mode with the little like swipe thing clicked on. So check it out. There's another plug. Did not intentionally try to find this sort of stuff. KJ says, Salah says someone is fine. I automatically think he is out for the season. Yes, I don't trust Salah when it comes to injuries. Everything he says, when he says, oh, they're fine, they'll be all right, it's usually something bad. And then when he says, oh, no, this is going to be bad, it's usually not the case. Scott says, keep it close today. Nothing to lose. Hit those milk thumbs. Yeah, boys and girls, hit the milk thumbs. Let's throw that up there. Milk thumbs. Oh, this is an outrageous graphic. Hit it. It's your boy, Says, so you'd rather be mediocre and waste this team's time instead of regrouping for next year and add another piece to a team when Rodgers comes back. If the Jets bottom out and Garrett Wilson says he doesn't want to be a New York Jet anymore, and you have imploded your locker room, is that better moving forward? Like, I'm sorry, I want wins. I want this team to have a taste of winning, a taste of adversity to come back. I want to have a shot at the end of the season. I really think there's a good shot that Aaron Rodgers comes back for the playoffs if the Jets are in contention. And the AFC is not as daunting as possible. So yes, 100% I am not tanking for losses right now. You want to talk to me come December and the team's falling apart already? Sure, I have no problem rooting for losses at the end of the season. But right now, as it stands, I am not rooting for losses. I don't care if it's 7 wins. I really don't. I want as many wins as possible because I want this team to gut it out as much as possible. I don't care this year if you have to just feed the ball to Garrett and Brees to make them happy and make sure the locker room stays together and we're at least utilizing our best players. I want to win now. I don't want to win tomorrow because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Golden Robert. Thank you so much for the super chat. He goes, hey, Pilot, my Vegas insider told me Jets get blown out or Jets win by 4. The refs haven't decided yet. Oh, check this out. Do I have my phone? I do have my phone on me. I haven't launched the shirt yet. You know what? Should I do a poll question? I don't know if I can do a poll question. I'm not going to do a poll question. So I got a new design made after the Jets-Chiefs loss. And the refs were really pissing me off. So I got, where is it? Can you guys see that? I don't know if it's going to actually. The 3 blind mice as referees. So that'll be a shirt or sweatshirt coming soon. Furious Grim says, I just want Zach to be the guy. I'm done playing quarterback lottery. Yeah, and I really like Zach. Like, from a person standpoint, he seems like someone who's passionate, who wants to be a good quarterback. Like, he doesn't, like, as much of his stats are similar to Jamarcus Russell, from a mentality standpoint, he could not be further from that. And I guess either way, you need to have success in the NFL. So whether you're a bad attitude and you stink, or you're a good attitude, or you're a bad attitude and you're good, you want the good quarterback regardless. But I want Zach to be the guy. It's going to be a long shot, but I want him to be the guy. Michael says, Zach needs to exercise his legs and get out moving forward. I want to see him run the ball. I want to see this to look a little similar to like a Philadelphia offense with Zach. Get him out on the edge, use play action, and say, hey, you got 1 read deep, you got 1 read shallow. If neither one's there, take off. 4 yards? That's fine. We'll take 4 yards every time. 4 yards every time gets your first down at the end of 3rd down. As long as you're not causing penalties. No self-inflicted wounds tonight. Savage says there's so many good offensive linemen in this year's draft, especially Graham, Barton, and Notre Dame offensive linemen. This year is stacked. Would you say that means we don't necessarily need the number 1 overall pick to get the offensive lineman we want? I also think we should be able to hit offensive linemen outside of round 1. I don't think we have to hit on round 1 every single time. But I would say, as it stands today, offensive lineman, wide receiver, quarterback. Those are kind of the 3 things I'm looking at in the first round. David says, can we see Izzy Abanikanda instead of Cook? Hate that we signed him. I don't hate that we signed him. I hate that we signed him and Aaron Rodgers got hurt. If Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt, it wouldn't have really bothered me quite so much. But the reason you sign Cook is to be an insurance policy for Brees. And now that we've seen Cook is not really an insurance policy because he's not playing well, and Brees is looking good. If Brees were to go down, I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy about Cook. So I'm with you there. I would move off from Cook, save whatever money, even if it's only $1 million for next year. I'd rather move on from him and then give those touches to Carter and Izzy. 100%. The alternative factor says Sauce Gardner ruled out. Okay, we give up another touchdown. Big deal. Jets going nowhere with Zach on the roster. That's not a very optimistic take. We could go somewhere. Zach's got to have a good day. Andy says we love him, Milk Thumbs. I love Milk Thumbs. Fierce Grim says, I hear rumors we're shopping Cook, Lawson, and Hardman. Yes, we should shop all 3 of those guys. Cook obviously has underperformed. I don't think it's worth having him around. You're not going to have him here next year. Might as well see if you can get a late round pick swap. Maybe it's just a 7th for a 6th, or Maybe we give up our 6th and get a 7th back, like something stupid like that. Maybe that's how it works. But you get a little bit of cap relief. Lawson, we're deep. We're deep at edge. And his back, there's something to it. I don't think anyone's trading for Cook or Lawson. I really don't. Hardman, you have a shot. If we wind up cutting Hardman, I think he's going to end up going to the Chiefs. So I'd love to get some type of pick there. The Highlander Prime says, why so many of the Zack Wilson haters refuse to blame the coaching incompetence that mishandled his development from day one? I listened to Gordon Damer, and I couldn't believe how shallow his Zack Wilson take was. So there is some level of blame that needs to be put on the coaching staff. I do think the loss of Greg Knapp just prior to the Jets season 2 years ago was a large factor because you had a young Calabrese and a young first-time offensive coordinator in Mike LaFleur that were not here to groom a quarterback. They were here to install an offense, and Knapp was here to groom the quarterback, and it fell apart, and you didn't have a veteran in there. And then the following year, it didn't look good the second year. You would hope there would be some sort of come-to-light moment being in the offense a second season. You didn't want to change up the offensive scheme each year on Zach, so you roll with LaFleur the next year. Then you just had to pull the plug. It's like, okay, look, Zach may stink, but it's easier to switch the offensive coordinator than it is the quarterback. Now you got Hackett here. At the very least, the last 2 weeks feel like they've kind of figured out a new offense around Zach. Last week, I would have loved to have seen Zach throw the ball a little bit more, but you didn't have to because Brees was running the ball so damn well. So I don't know. There's some degree of coaching incompetence. There's some degree of Zach just not being good because you got to put some of it on the player. And some of it is just not putting him in the right position from an offensive calling scheme point. Like we built an offense all offseason to be here for Rodgers. And then in the first game of the season, you're like, oh shit, we got to start a whole new install to get Zach, what he's comfortable with. Because we were hoping to get him comfortable with what Rodgers is comfortable with over the course of an entire season where he's not going to take a snap. We kind of had the rug pulled out from underneath us. Outside the echo chamber says starting over every 3 years hasn't worked. I agree. I would like to hold on to coaches and GMs longer and create a stable atmosphere. Like guys knowing who their boss is going to be the next year or their coach is going to be the next year and being in a stable foundation. There's a reason why the Steelers are always consistent. Are always talked about in a good light. The Ravens are the same way. You could argue the Eagles are very similar in that capacity. Obviously they had the little Chip Kelly experiment for a brief moment there, but Andy Reid was there a very long time. Sirianni's going to be there a long time. You got to show a little bit of faith in your staff, even in a down season. Hi Kung Fu says, hey Ryan, if we had Trevor Lawrence instead of Zach, we are a Super Bowl team. Yes, we are. That's why the reaction I had when the Jets beat the Rams that year, leading into the Zack Wilson, Trevor Lawrence draft, it wasn't just me. All the fans felt the same way. And I think we knew it at that point. Like, wow, we missed our Peyton Manning. That was our opportunity to get him. And Braden Mann, a friggin' punter, ruined it for us. As a punter, it's the easiest thing to read the room and just say, oh no, I'm just going to make that all the punter kicker attempted tackle where you kind of throw your body and you don't actually like hit the guy. That's all you had to do. No fan would have been upset with you for doing that. We would have actually been excited for that whole situation. Screw you, Braden Mann. Screw you. Andrew says there's a lot of games left. Anything can happen. The Bills are beatable. The Dolphins are 1-2 a concussion away from missing the playoffs, and we can hang with Kansas City. No reason at all to tank. Yes, Andrew. Yes, Andrew. I am 100% in that same mindset. Robert says, how the hell do you go from questionable with an illness to out with a concussion? I'm so confused. I mean, it looked like Sauce got whacked in the head during last week's Buffalo game. He got up very slow, and I think they knew at that point, like, okay, he's off. Something's there. But you could have maybe not flu-like symptoms, but you can have like a nausea and not quite right feeling that you may not realize it is a concussion, and then maybe they're just like, hey, it's not getting better. This is clearly what it is. Or they're just being safe. I'm okay with them being safe. Chris says, Rodgers can get hurt next year too, so play for now. Yes, Chris. He gets it. Savage says, real question is, does Zack finally get a roughing the passer penalty today? I think it's been 25 games now. It's like 360 days, I think. Or no, sorry, that's wrong. 660 days. I think it's 650, somewhere in there. It says zebra, 3 blind mice. Yes. What's going to happen is I'm going to have to make that shirt for after this game because we're going to be ranting and screaming about some sort of call. It'll be the 3 blind mice. Sawyer says, Zack is jacked. He can take and deliver hits. He needs to run more. I want to see him run just because what's the worst case scenario? If he's not the guy, fine, you draft a guy in this year's draft. Like, just unleash him. Do whatever you think he can do best. Let him run wild. That's what I want to see. The alternative factor said, Justin Fields forced 230 yards to only DJ Moore. Why can't we do the same with Garrett Wilson? You don't think Garrett Wilson is watching the game. You can, but at some point you have to realize, like, it's not always going to work out that way. I do hope anytime they get one-on-one, they just trust Garrett. And they're like, okay, hey, I see one-on-one coverage that way. I don't care what it looks like Garrett Wilson is. If he's open or not, I'm going to give him an opportunity for it because Garrett Wilson is so good that we trust him to come down with the ball. That's what I would like to see. But you also have to play that game of, okay, Zack, don't throw it into double coverage. Don't just force feed it because they're going to bait you into that and they're going to have guys spying and trying to intercept. So I don't want to see that. McNally says Zack ran a 4.6. I think I could be wrong. I don't know what his actual 40 time was, but he clocked like a 20 or 21 mile an hour run against, was it Philly 2 years ago? Or was it Jacksonville maybe? I think it was Jacksonville. It was really fast. So I wouldn't worry about the 40 time necessarily. Oreo says, hey Ryan, just a suggestion. Maybe you can start a series of X's and O's and break down each week's matchup. How we can win, exposing there's weaknesses and keys to wins would do way better than ESPN. I appreciate that. So I could definitely do that. It takes a little bit more sitting down with the film and like pulling all the clips out and having it. And just right now with the 2 kids, it's a little bit more difficult. So I'd rather let some other people do the X's and O's. Jets X Factor does a really good job. Let's Talk Jets does a really good job. If I see certain plays that I key in on, I'll bring them up and I'll say, hey, look what just happened here, or where we can exploit stuff. But as much as I enjoy the X's and O's, I'm not going to pretend I'm as good as maybe like a Jets X Factor or some of those guys. McNally says Cook is cooked. Put a fork in him. He's done. Basil says Cam Newton offered to come over, but wants to be paid what he's worth, and he will respect Rodgers and Zach's role on the team. He doesn't want to get paid what he's worth because it's not worth a whole lot. There's 32 teams in the NFL, and not one has called him in 2 years? I'm sorry, Cam Newton's not the answer. If you want a running back at quarterback that still can't throw the ball, Cam can't throw the ball. That's always been the knock throughout his career. Big arm, but just hasn't been able to throw the ball. Now, maybe you just want I don't want to call it a bullet sponge. We call that in Call of Duty where you just have one teammate that's really bad all the time, and you just send him in through the door first, and then he absorbs all the shots, and then you send the good players in after him. Like, that's how I sort of envision Cam Newton is like, okay, you're going to allow him to take the hits that you don't want Zack Wilson to take, which is a bad way to look at that. And I don't think Cam Newton coming in here is going to really do a whole lot. I don't want Cam. Mike Dees says, Ryan, what up? Trying to be optimistic about today, but I'm struggling, man. Look, expect the worst, hope for the best. That's like, it's not like a good way that you want to go into every game, but in this particular style game, when you're down this many key pieces for the New York Jets and you're going up against a juggernaut, that seems like a daunting task. Look, the same way we went into the Kansas City game. Oh man, I just want to see it close. Just don't get blown out. That's all I want to see. Loser's mentality, sure. I'm trying to take away positives. Joe says, in the 15-plus games LaFleur has installed a game plan, non-Zach quarterbacks are averaging 300 yards plus. Yeah, Mike LaFleur's offense, any quarterback not named Zack Wilson that has taken snaps for the Jets, puts the Jets' average pass yards per game higher than that of the Chiefs by 25 yards per game. The Jets are the single best offense in the NFL through 2021 and 2022 when Zack Wilson is not the quarterback. It's an eye-opening stat, which makes you feel a little bit better about Trevor Siemian. I don't know if Trevor Siemian is the guy to beat the Eagles necessarily, but if Zach turns into a pumpkin, I feel at least somewhat okay with Simeon going the rest of the way out, having a month trying to learn the system. David says, Sauce is out. Forget it. There's no way they can beat the Eagles. David, don't be a negative Nancy. Come on. Come on. Keep your chin up. Keep your chin up. Michael says, I would really like to see Randall Cobb's veteran presence in the huddle today to keep Zach calm. Plus, Cobby and Conklin are open per jet sweep. Thoughts? I would like to see Conklin get the ball, but I do want to see Ruckert on the field more. I would love to see Ruckert in the H-back role, kind of as our, fullback that can go out for a pass, because I don't feel like Bawden is necessarily like, I don't think we've used him enough to justify the roster spot. But yeah, we need our vets to step up and keep everyone kind of in check today. Rusty Spooner says, Ryan, you definitely have to make that zebra 3 Blind Mice shirt. Okay. I will, as I'm sitting here prior to the game, I will set it up. I'll get the shirt made. And after the game, if we're really upset with the refs for something stupid, we'll do the drop. We'll give one away at the end of the show. That's what we'll do. McNally said, didn't throw Wilson much last game because of Surtain. Yeah, Surtain was arguably the best corner in the game. He's, I would say in that top 3 to 5 discussion in terms of cornerbacks. So there's no reason, especially when Brees is running the ball so well and the Broncos are so bad at covering the run, there's no reason to risk it. Today might be a little bit of a different opportunity. MC Lean, Ryan, are you excited for the game? I'm excited for every game. I really am. I look forward to each one, and I try to take the positives away from it. Now, me being a fan, I'm just going to lose my cool at the end if something stupid happens, but I'm hoping. I'm hoping. Ryan Rivera says, Newton's shoulder is toast. Yes. I don't think he's very good. Alternative Factor says, awesome to see Jets released a video showing quarterback Aaron Rodgers walking without crutches. I know. And they're just trying to get people hyped up. The thing that irks me, and I didn't make a video about this, I wanted to, and I'll just kind of address it here at this point. But you guys saw that the Jets are asking season ticket holders to pay for their 2024 season tickets now instead of February when they normally are asked to do it. And that pisses me off to no end because we heard that report from, I think it was Diana Rossini. I might have the name wrong. Where they said, the reason the Jets are not going more aggressively after a quarterback is because of the economic factors and the money that's already been spent, the cash spent, not the cap hit, the cash spent. You spent a large signing bonus on Rodgers, a large signing bonus on Quinnen Williams, obviously any other players you signed. So there's a lot of money that was dished out, like $285 million this year, if you're the New York Jets. I think the Jets are having them pay for next year's season tickets already. I mean, there was already a 2-year commitment. So Jet fans were already signed on for 2 years, which I think was a shady move. But now they're getting paid right now prior to the deadline. They're like, oh shit, we gotta open up the wallet because Woody Johnson doesn't have enough baby formula or baby powder in there to be able to pay for a new quarterback coming in. I think it's a spit in the face of fans. I don't think you should be upping ticket prices and then asking fans in season of a season you're trying to kind of throw the season on. I shouldn't say trying to throw the season on, but you're not willing to invest further assets into the quarterback position because of financial economic reasons. And now Aaron Rodgers goes down and you didn't take out the insurance, the $20 million insurance policy. Guess what? Tough eggs. You made a bad business decision, dude. You don't take the insurance policy out on Aaron Rodgers' contract when the Packers did it his entire career. And because you didn't take that out, now you're out, the $20 million you could have recouped because you didn't want to pay whatever the amount of money was to cover that. Tough cookies, Johnson. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the financial things the Jets are doing right now. I think it's a slap in the face to season ticket holders and fans. Rusty says Noon should come back as a fullback tight end if he decides to come back. Dude's arm is linguine. Noodle arm. Jets up said Cam lost his job to Mac Jones. He did. They also drafted him in the first round. So that was, it was always going to kind of be the thing regardless. Oreo says, if we get blown out today or have a big loss, sounds like you're giving the team a pass because of injuries. No, not necessarily. It depends how Zach plays. Like if Zach looks like dog shit and we lose by a lot, even if the defense gives up a lot, I want to try and grade Zach as level-headedly as possible. And I think this is the final game that they might, like if Zach turns into a pumpkin today, then I think they're going to plan to have a Simeon versus Zach battle throughout the bye week. I think Zach does start versus the Giants, but then he'll have the plug pulled on him if he starts playing the same way. Am I giving the Jets a pass? Maybe that is a little bit, but I think it's tough to go into this game with the injuries we have against the opponent we have. It's an any given Sunday league, so you can win. But I think most betting people in a straight up bet Jets or Eagles, no one's going to take the Jets. Or very few. Andrew says, football is fun. Just go out and play mentally for this game. Yeah, to some degree, you kind of have to sit back and say, hey, it is a game at the end of the day. Like, just enjoy the entertainment side of it. But it's also a business, and you want to win games. Like, I'm sick of losing. James says, have some effing New York, New Jersey balls. Let's be confident. Screw it. What else have we to lose? I'm in that mindset, right? Like, let Zach throw it all over the field. Worst case scenario, he's not the guy. Okay, the season's lost as soon as Rodgers went down. Uncuff him. Let him go. Chris says, I love Sauce too, but he hasn't been 100% lately. Anyway, 2 weeks off. Let him rest. It's funny, like Sauce's quote-unquote sophomore slump is still like a really good year for a cornerback. Dude's impressive. Joe says, set up a poll. Are you redrafting Zach at number 2? Look, the obvious answer is no. Obvious answer is no. What I would like to know more is there another quarterback that you would draft at 2? That is a far more compelling question to me, Joe. And I would say no. I would not take Trey Lance. I would not take Mac Jones. I would not take Justin Fields. And in hindsight, I would not take Zack Wilson. So that was 4 of the 5 quarterbacks. The 5th quarterback was Trevor Lawrence that went number 1. The real move you make if you're a Jets fan and you're playing this hindsight game, it's either holding on to Zach holding on to Sam Darnold and trading down with the 49ers, or maybe you still move Sam because you don't want to decide on his 5th-year option, and you trade down with the 49ers. And then you figure out another quarterback that you want to bring in, whether it's a veteran quarterback, whatever it is. But the Zach experiment with that 49ers trade that was on the table at pick number 3, it hurts. It definitely hurts. Bill Thorne, before Sauce was ruled out, I made a bet with my friend, he's an Eagles fan, where if the Jets win, he has to wear a Jets hat to school for 4 days. What are the chances I can brutally tease him for days? Well, put it this way. If you lose this bet, then you say, look, you're the Super Bowl caliber champions. We don't have a quarterback. We don't have Sauce isn't out there. No AVT, no Eccles, no Reed. You know, there's a lot stacked against the Jets right now. But if the Jets win, you could lay into them. You could lay into them. Mike D says, man, I just want 1 p.m. games back. This 4 p.m. late games suck. Yeah, it kind of ruins the rest of your day. It's a long stretch here. At least we get to watch some football beforehand. I like the early morning games. Like, if I had it my way, I wouldn't even mind the Jets playing at like 9 o'clock and having football start my day, and then I can watch the rest of the games the rest of the way out. Because a 4 o'clock game, I'm not really super dialed into the 1 o'clock games because I'm getting prepped for the Jet game. And then as soon as the Jet game's over, I'm obviously doing the post game, doing the edits and things like that. So I don't even catch like the late game. So it kind of is a wash for my day. Or you have the night game. The night game is good because then you get to watch all of football, and then I'm just up stupid late editing. Guy LaDouche says, what's your score prediction for today? Without Sauce and Reed, I think it'll be a tough game to win. I'm going with 27-17, but please shock me. I think that's probably a pretty good score, if I had to guess. I don't think it's going to be as close as that score indicates. I think you could see like a 27-10 with the Jets catching a touchdown in garbage time or something like that to make it 27-17. I think this has a real potential to get ugly. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The dude says every team has injuries. No excuse to get the doors blown off. You got to go out there and fight. Yeah, so if the Chiefs are missing Patrick Mahomes, are you expecting the Chiefs to win against the Eagles? Because the Jets don't have their Aaron Rodgers. You're talking about a guy who's supposed to be the backup quarterback all year. You put any other team in this position, you say, hey, yeah, you're going to lose your best offensive lineman, 2 of probably your 3 or 4 best defensive players. And your star quarterback. So you got to play with a backup. Every team has injuries, sure, but when you wind up losing the quarterback and some other stuff, there's going to be some realistic come to truth moments. I don't know if that's right. You got to come to the realization that you're not going to be able to win every game because injuries are a factor. Spooner says, Woody Johnson has plenty of money. This is disgusting. Parking should be free. Well, to be fair, he actually doesn't. He's just the trust fund of Johnson & Johnson. He doesn't actually have any active role in Johnson & Johnson. Parking should be free, and beer should be no more than $10, never mind $40, and a pretzel costs $15 is past ridiculous. So there's some interesting things that come into the beer discussion because they obviously stopped selling beer at halftime. If they wanted to make profits off the beer, they would continue selling it regardless of what happens. To some degree, making the beer more expensive prohibits or is cost prohibitive for some fans that just want to go in and just get sloshed. So having a little bit elevated price may not be the worst thing because it might discourage people from drinking. Weird way to think about it, but I'm in a pseudo-adjacent industry. That's not really the worst thing. Parking being free, that's a ton of money. That'll never happen. I mean, when I was going to games as a kid, I want to say parking passes were $10 or $15, and you could pay like at the gate. I paid for a parking pass the other day. Not the other day. 2 years ago, I think. Jets Bills home opener. It was like $75. It's crazy. Now, if you get the promo code to go to a game, which all you guys that are going to Jets Chargers, I think it's going to be $30. I think that's what the parking winds up costing. Russ says, we need to own a stadium that needs to be named Jet Stadium. I don't think it's happening. If we're basing anything on the money savings of this team, I don't think they're going to fork over the extra money to have their own stadium. MC Lean comes in and says, I could see one day running the ball doesn't exist and check downs and screens is the best way to get the running back involved. Let Zach just throw it up all game. MC Lean, I've been calling for this for a long time. Actually, since Brady was in New England, I've said they haven't had great running games necessarily, but because of the way Brady distributes the ball around the line of scrimmage to his receivers on the quick slants, the bubble screens, those are essentially run plays without having to worry about your defensive linemen in front of you and linebackers. You're getting Breece Hall out on the edge, and he only has to make 1 or 2 guys miss, as opposed to worrying about the blocking in front of him and then needing to make linebackers miss, whose jobs are purely to tackle, not just cover like corners and safeties are necessarily, more consistently asked to do. So I agree. I think you could phase out the running game a little bit and run by way of high efficiency passes to essentially do the same thing. Ja S says, I'm just imagining instead we keep Darnold and we draft somebody like Micah or Surtain. Yeah, if you trade down with the 49ers, you take Micah Parsons. And then you have 2 extra first round picks, I think is what it wound up being. That would have been the play in that draft. It's great to enjoy 420. And then the starts. Yeah, so when the game starts at 4:25, you get your 5-minute break prior to it. I guess you get that. Radimus Prime says, people tend to forget that Zach is the backup and wasn't even supposed to be seeing the field while Rodgers was here. That's what I try to tell people. People are like, oh no, well, he was your starter last year. Well, I get that. But that doesn't mean he's supposed to be the guy. Jalen Hurts. Take Jalen Hurts off the Eagles. And say, they don't look as good anymore. Well, why not? There's some injuries. Come on. I got you, Radimus. Indy says, missing Rodgers, Reed, Sauce, AVT. Take that from any team and see. Yeah, it's hard to have a complete football team when you're missing that much. Joshua says, can we please stop whining about Rodgers already? Zach has been serviceable the last 2 weeks. Yeah, well, that's why you got to stay positive, right? You stay positive. You hope Zach continues on the same trajectory you've seen the last 2 weeks, but you have to be realistic and realize, like, there's a reason why he was not supposed to start this year. Even if he's looking better, it's got to be, some degree of awareness. Momo says, maybe if you put on your flight hat, it'll give us some luck today. Let's do it. Let's do it. I haven't changed my underwear since the last time we were in the playoffs. The hat's got to help too. So we got that. Spooner says, it's literally us against the world and refs, Ryan. Let's go Jets. Get the NFL upset. Let's go. I'm with you. All right. So I want to hop over. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I have this set up yet. Yes, I do. Okay. All right. Let's head over. Boys and girls, I mentioned earlier in this stream that this stream and channel, we got sponsored. Me, to the channel. Got sponsored by Underdog Fantasy this season. And if you want to help support the channel, obviously the best way to do that, like, subscribe, tell a friend about it. But if you want to help in another capacity, whether it's by way of super chat or joining a membership tier, supporting the sponsors of the channel like Underdog help keep the channel going and keep things moving in the right direction, and I can make more content for you guys. So they've been generous enough to support us. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a really good time with Underdog Fantasy this year, and now they're running a promo. So they will match 100% of your first deposit up to $500 with promo code JETS247. So all you got to do is head over to Underdog Fantasy. If you want to play some of these higher, lower contests, I can tell you right now, we'll take a look at it over here. If you want to win some higher, lower contests, always go with the opposing team. It's kicker. Where are we looking? Jake Elliott, 1.5 field goals made, higher or lower. So with Pick'em with Underdog Fantasy, you have to pick 2 teams, at least. You can have, 4 picks from one team and you can have 1 pick from another team, or you can have 5 separate teams, whatever it is. But you have to pick at least 2 teams. And 1.5 field goals made by the opposing team's kicker against the New York Jets has hit every single week. It is the easiest free money contest you can enter. Let's throw a 20 spot here. And it multiplies every time you pick something. So obviously we got some stuff going on here. Jalen Hurts, 0.5 rush plus receiving touchdowns. So I guess they're saying, is he going to run in for one? I think the tush push is almost guaranteed. But let's skip the Eagles stuff. Let's go back to the Jets. Zack Wilson, 200.5 passing yards. Higher, lower. Now, one that I like rolling with Zach, I don't like trusting him on the passing yards thing. I think all of us are a little concerned with that, especially with the way that he has played. Although if the Jets are behind, he's going to have to pass a lot. So I can understand you wanting to go with the higher pass yards. I always like the rush yards for Zach. For whatever reason, they always have him around 12 or 13 rush yards, and he gets that in one shot. I think Zach's going to be running around a lot. I would 100% stack the 1.5 field goals from the opposing team's kicker and Jake Elliott, and Zack Wilson rushing for 13.5 for the higher as easy money for the New York Jets, or for you. So obviously, look, just with 2 for a $20 entry, and if you get 2 things correct, which I think are dead locks, you can 3x your money. So if you get 2 correct, you go up to $60 in this type of contest. This is what's so fun about Underdog Fantasy. You don't have to go crazy and do the 5 parlay that you could go up to, but if you do, it's a 20x. Right? So each one you add, it gets more. So let's keep going. We'll have some fun with it, but you guys can head over to Underdog Fantasy, enter code JETS247, and do this type of contest, and this alone will win you money week in and week out. I have hit every single week on the over or higher on the 1.5 field goals made by the opposing team's kicker against the New York Jets. Every single week. It's the easiest thing. Defenses or offenses of the opposing team are going to be held out of the end zone more often than not if you're the New York Jets. So take the other team's kicker. Zach on the higher for rushing yards, I think, is a good bet. You can see Dalvin Cook is dropping lower and lower. I think last week they had him at 35 rush yards. I'm not touching Dalvin Cook. Breece Hall, 52.5 rush yards. You got to think they're going to key in on him. As far as rushing attempts, I'm going to go the over think we're going to... What do I want to do? Brees is a tough one because I could see him getting more receiving yards in this particular type of matchup. I'm going to go the higher on the fantasy points for today. I think they're going to feed him. With Garrett, receptions, yards after catch, targets, fantasy points. That's like right in that wheelhouse that I don't really feel super comfortable with. 6.5 receiving yards for Uzama. He hasn't really been a receiving threat. 27.5 yards for Conklin. He has hit it, but he hasn't been as consistent with that, so I'm not feeling super comfy there. Zerline, 5 kicking points, so 2 field goals gets that done. I am going to say the higher on that. So look, right here, $20 entry. And if you think that, look, the kicker's a given, right? I feel like the kicker's a given for Jake Elliott. Zach getting at least 13.5 rush yards. Brees getting at least 11 fantasy points. I think he's going to be featured heavily. And then Zerline getting 5 points, 2 field goals. That's all he needs, 2 field goals. You can win $200 on a $20 entry. Let's continue. Let's see if we could find one more in here that we like. You've got CJ Mosley, 4 assists, 5.5 tackles. Quincy, 3 assists, 5.5 solo attack. Quincy's probably a pretty safe hire. He's been flying all over the field. So let's do that. I wish they had Sauce in here and you could say like the lower. Catch him sleeping. So let's do this. Let's do Quincy with solo tackles. Ooh, solo tackles higher. Yeah, we'll do solo tackles higher. Why not? Let's feel good. $20 entry can get you $400. And if you want any combination without that, you could go lower than that too. May win a little bit less. My safe money bet or contest, Jake Elliott, over 1.5 points. Zack Wilson, higher, 13.5 rushing yards. And then I would even take Zerline. You could do a 3-stack. So let's eliminate. Let's say if we took Brees out and we took Quincy out, because this is probably safer. You could win $120 on a $20 entry. And I feel very confident about these 3 right here. The kickers and Zach. It's screwy, but I definitely like it. So if you want to support the channel and it doesn't, and you like this sort of higher, lower prop style contests, head over to Underdog Fantasy. They're supporting the channel for the season. If you support the channel, Jets 24/7 gets you up to a $500 first-time deposit match. I've been having a lot of fun with this, so I definitely encourage you guys to head along. And even if they weren't sponsoring the channel, I'd probably still end up playing Underdog. Just don't tell them I said that, because then they'll obviously go a different route. But all right, I saw a few super chats pop in, so let's discuss this real quick. MC Lean comes in with a comment and says, Ramsey might be practicing this week after tearing his ACL 2 months ago. I think we see A-Rod the last few weeks of the season. Dare I say playoffs. So I don't think Ramsey tore his ACL. I think he had like some sort of sprain or something like that, or maybe it was a partial tear. I'd have to go back and actually look at what the Ramsey injury was, but they were saying he would be back sometime in like around week 10, which I think puts us in November at that point, like just before we play them. We play them, is it the 23rd maybe of November? Whatever Black Friday is. I think he's set to come back 2 weeks prior to that. So right around Jets Chargers. Douglas comes in and says, it's all house money. Both offense and defense need to be extremely aggressive, use blitzes on D, disrupt the rhythm, and let Zach air it out on offense. Yes, give me something to watch, right? I'm not expecting a win. I'm not expecting to win. I'm being an honest fan. I'm not expecting to win. Give me something to be excited about and something to watch. Keep the ball moving on offense. I want to see just a shootout. I want Zach to throw it all over the yard. I really do. Do high completion stuff. You don't have to go crazy far down the field if you don't trust your offensive line. Get it out to Brees in space. Get out to Garrett in space. Trust your playmakers to put a foot in the ground and make a guy miss. Get me excited. That's what I want to see. GTA 4 man says, Ryan Tannehill, only 8 of 16, 76 passing yards today. Not going to lie, glad we have Zach over him. Yeah, there's a lot of people that were like, oh, I'd kind of be all right with Ryan Tannehill. And that was like the last one I wanted to go after. He seems cooked to me. I would have rather gone after Kirk Cousins. I understand the connection with our offensive line coach. Maybe Tannehill would have been an all right option if he's playing like baseline fine. But 8 of 16 with 76 yards is not like a fun stat line to watch. And I'd rather watch Zach sling it all over the yard and not do well than watch 8 of 16 for 76 yards. That is a boring effing game. The Highlander Prime says, after I saw Darnold play 3 seasons, 37 games, despite a bad coach and team, I was sure he wasn't the guy because I saw his talent and tendencies, but I see more potential and talent with Zach in 27 games in. I do see a difference in Zack Wilson and the talent he has versus Sam Darnold. I really loved Sam's mentality, and I loved his demeanor. And by that, I mean Sam gave a very Eli Jeter-esque New York persona. He wasn't the party boy that was going to go out and be all over the tabloids. He was a guy that was going to get stuff done, do his thing in the locker room, be a leader, where Zach maybe has a little more maturity that he needs to kind of grow into, but is far more explosive, like dynamite. Like it could either blow up in your hand or you could have a really exciting, game from him. So I do think Zach is the better quarterback prospect, but I don't know if he's going to be the better quarterback. He's got to put it all together. Ryan Rivera says, what's the reception number for Garrett and Conklin? I think the reception for Garrett, I still have it up. Reception number for Garrett is 5 receptions. And what was the other one? Conklin was 3 receptions. So you could look at those. I don't trust the passing game. I don't trust him. That's the only reason I tend to steer away from our wide receivers. I have gone yards after catch on Garrett, and I have hit on that. But I'm afraid of relying on Zach in a passing capacity to go with prop contests for our receivers. Robert says, going to be a shootout today. A lot of defensive players out for both teams. Zach's primed for a 300-yard game. I just feel it in my bones. That's what I want to see. I want to see a 300-yard game because I want to see people like excited for the every throw. I love doing the every throw videos when it's a good game. Like nothing sucks more than Zach has like 120 yards on 30 passes or something stupid like that, and I'm sitting there editing the whole thing. I want a very much exciting game from Zach. I want to see him break that 300 number. Luigi Mario says, on my way to Jet Life. Peeps, enjoy the game. You got beautiful weather for today. Glad we didn't get the weather that we had yesterday. Farvian says, I'd do the over on 13.5 rushing yards for Zach. He's been looking to run more. Yes, that's what I'm saying. And Underdog hasn't caught on yet. They must not be watching this part of the stream because I'm telling you, 1.5 field goals for the opposing kicker and the over or the higher on the rush yards for Zach, it's going to hit like every time. Every time. Win yourself some money. He says, Luigi comes back and says, we're clipping them Eagles wings today. Easy. Get excited. Rivera said I would smash those overs. He's saying over the 3 receptions for Conklin and over 5 receptions for Garrett. You can do it. You can do it. All right, boys and girls, we've been live for an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to hop off here. Get ready for game time. The games are about to start. It's been a lot of fun hanging out with you. Like I said, smash that like button. If you enjoyed the pregame show, if you want to just help support the channel, hit the like button, tell a friend about it. If you want to go that extra mile, head over to Underdog Fantasy. First time deposit match up to $500 if you use promo code JETS247. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'll see you guys after the Jets game. Actually, if you head over to the Talking Jets panel, you'll see me at halftime with O'Leary and Greenbean, and then I'll see you after the game for the post game. Enjoy your football Sunday, boys and girls. Jets! Jets! Jets!